My name is Amy Davis Abdallah, and I am professor of theology and Bible at Nyack College. But my plan was to marry the youth pastor, who was going to later become the pastor, and I was just going to be the wife that did the kind of partner stuff. That was what was given me. And a woman understood herself primarily in the roles of wife and mother. That was the direction in which I was heading. And then things changed, and I taught in South America for a couple of years, and then I got taught in the United States, and then I got the seminary degree, and then I stood in front of 40 students in the first day I taught Old Testament, and I can picture this place right now. And yet the rite of passage that I was looking forward to was this marriage and family, which I didn't have, you know? I was 29 years old, standing in front of this college classroom, not sure of who I was. And so I kind of started on a path of, okay, no one else is helping me define this, but let me start on this path. And so then I took a class in my seminary, or my PhD program that was called Women, Word, and Worship. And I just did a little bit of work on rites of passage. I don't even think I got a very good grade on it, but I found it really interesting because in traditional tribal societies, there were rites of passage. And so I looked at the rites of passage, but then I also looked at the understanding of how we go through transition. And transition really, really fascinates me because it really sucks. And going through transition well, I think is helped by ritual and it's helped by community. If we do a rite of passage, this is what we glean from male rites of passage, which are very different from female rites of passage in tribal society or in societies that do that. And this is what we glean from what different Christian rites of passage are doing. And these are principles by which you can create and move forward. And I was just gonna leave it there. But I have some really good friends who didn't want me to. We started something that was it was four meetings, and it was in a spring semester, and we had bookends. There was, rites of passage generally have their process. And there's a preliminal stage, and there's often an initiation, and then a time of passage, and then there's a postliminal stage where you celebrate your completion. And so you see this in tribal society, but if you do a traditional college route, like if you go traditional undergraduate and you move to college, that's very much a rite of passage. You move away from where you once were. You have all of these things that test who you are and who you're gonna become, and all of these events occur to you and with you, and there's just a lot that happens during that time. And then you come out supposedly as a college graduate that says, okay, now I'm an adult. Certainly not everyone gets their college degree. In the United States, we recognize someone who's 18 as an adult. And so, okay, you have all the rights and privileges. And so one of my interests also in rite of passage is not just because I never had one. So I never had one. I wanted someone to help me. Like, how do I understand? Well, what is it? I'm calling myself a Christian. You're telling me I'm supposed to be married and have children. I don't. That's not what's happened. I can't control that. Come on. And yet I don't really know what this is supposed to be. And I don't fit into the traditional boxes. So if you give me this box of you're supposed to be meek and quiet and all of that, I just don't think that's how I've been made. And that's not really who I am. And I can try, but I just fail. And so I also looked at students who were graduating, like female students who were graduating, and just really looking for their identity just in something. They didn't understand themselves. Their identity was still diffuse, and they didn't really understand themselves. So they'd get into a relationship that often failed down the road. They would try to define themselves in their job. And all of these things are important for us, certainly, but we need to understand who we are before we move forward. And as a Christian, there's a framework that we have. See, when I look at it as a loose framework. What the rituals did, whether they were tribal or and related to that, was they were seeking to form identity. The identity was formed through relationship. And when we talk theology, we talk about relationship. We talk about relationship with God, and we talk about relationship with others. And our churches talk about relationship with God and relationship with others. But we miss two really important parts. So we miss relationship with ourselves, and we miss relationship with creation, which are all, I think, very, very clear in Genesis 1 and Genesis 2. And how do we as individuals move forward and flesh that out? And so I have some ideas about what works for me, but I think we need to understand those relationships and understand how to develop those relationships. And so I started a rite of passage that has been running for about 10 years. with Nyack College women, and we're trying to figure out how we're going to move forward with that particular rite of passage.